will give the mic to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Eileen, and thank you, Albert. Thank you, Joy, for recommending me to be the speaker, and thank you all for being here today. I know it is an insane time of year. Who else in here has about 3 or 4 different events on every given day in December that you have to choose between? Yeah, it's kind of silly. But I guess there are worse problems. People could not want you around at all, and that would be much worse. So we're all doing well. As she mentioned, my name is Erica Reddick. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, and I have been doing accounting for much of the last 23 years. So a lot of people think I look younger than I am, but I prefer to be taken seriously. I am 46 years old. I'm a real person, Albert. I have experience. And anybody else, like if you're young looking, people are like, oh, you can't know anything. You're young. Well, anyway, you're going to know a lot of things when you come out of here today. You're going to be terrified as I go through this. It's normal. It's okay. You need to know before I start, you are in good company. You also are not the only people who have not filed your beneficial ownership report. You also are not the only person who isn't filing your sales tax correctly. Like everybody else is in the same boat, okay? The reason these topics are in the talk today is because they are common mistakes that everyone makes. So I want to try to help you avoid all that. So, and all the photography in this is Joy Conti, by the way. Oh, wait, okay, is that it? Okay, so I want to start with a concept that no one has told you before and you've probably never heard of. It's called piercing the corporate veil. So who in here owns an LLC? Right, you have some kind of corporation or business that you've set up that has a separate EIN, that is a separate person or entity from you. Now, how many of you pay for things that are personal with your business account? Don't raise your hand. That's bad. Don't do that. If you pay for personal things with your business account, you are telling the government that you and your business are the same, that there is no difference. So that that limited liability corporation that you set up to protect you and your assets from anybody who sues you or the government or anything that can go wrong, you've said, actually, we're the same, because I'm just going to commingle the funds. So if you find yourself as a business, unless you're a C corporation, you can't do this. That's a different story. But if you're the average LLC who files a Schedule C on your tax return, or you have a S corporation, you can give yourself distributions. So if there's something you need to pay for, and you don't have enough money in your personal account, transfer the money to your business account and pay for it out of there. Because if you don't, and you ever go to court and you have commingled your funds, or you paid for things on a personal credit card, and then you're like, well, it's okay, and then some of it is business, and then I connected it to QuickBooks, but then all this is distributed. Like, don't do that. Do not do that, okay? You will get yourself in a world of hurt later on. Okay, so taxes. Taxes, what are the 2 things that are inevitable? Death and taxes. So in the state of Texas, minimum, these are the things that you have to pay. Sales tax, franchise tax, personal property tax, unemployment tax. Did you know that in many counties in the state of Texas, including Travis County, Williamson County, Bell County, some other counties, Lee County, excuse me, you have to pay personal income tax, personal property tax if you hold inventory. Not only if you have inventory, but if you have an office with desks and pencils and chairs. You owe Travis County a percentage of tax on the items that you own in the space that you occupy for your business in Travis County and other various counties. Who in here knew that? Exactly. So did you ever think that after paying sales tax and income tax and all that, you would have to then continue to pay tax on the things that you own to the county? No. Why would you think that? Because that's nonsense. But that's the government. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the one thing I always want to make sure to point out. Now, if you are in the state of Texas, you also have to file franchise tax every year. Now, if you make under $10 million, you don't owe anything, but you still have to, did I mess it up? You still have to file a franchise tax return. You have to file a no tax due franchise return. You can do it yourself in about 5 minutes online, okay? Do not let people charge you a bunch of money for it. If you have a CPA who files your tax return, they're gonna do this for you anyway as a part of it, and then they're not gonna charge you a bunch. But if you have an accountant or somebody that wants to charge you hundreds and hundreds of dollars, go online. I swear to God, you can figure this out yourself. I promise you, okay? It's very easy. A no tax due, it will take you 5 minutes to fill out if you have access to your EIN and all that stuff. Okay. I'm not really going to deal with the federal today, but you have to know that you have to pay your payroll taxes, right? If you have employees, you have to pay payroll taxes. And we're going to talk about the difference between an employee and a contractor a little bit later. So we talked about the personal property tax, sales tax. Joy Conti, is it or is it not true that your digital images are taxable? Non-tangible items can be subject to sales tax. Who in here hosts events, public events, where you're charging for ticket sales? Did you know that event ticket sales are taxable? I had a client who came to me. They had been operating for about 5 years. And when they came to me, they were under an audit from the state of Texas. And they got busted on 2 counts. One, they hosted live events and they had never charged sales tax. So they had to calculate the number of ticket sales and how much they earned, and they had to pay every single solitary dime of it. Not only that, did you know that if in the state of Texas you order something online or you purchase something and they don't charge you sales tax, you're still obligated to pay the state of Texas the sales tax? Does anybody in here actually file their sales tax return online with the comptroller? Okay, so you know how the part where it says, oh, taxable purchases, right? So if you don't make sure that Amazon charged you sales tax for something you purchased, you're supposed to pay it. And guess what? If you don't, and the state of Texas figures it out, they're gonna charge you for it. So this same client bought tons of stuff from overseas, bought tons of like statues, prizes and things. I'm trying not to give it away too much. But and they bought stuff on Amazon, and this was before Amazon started making sure to charge everything. So if every single one of their Amazon purchases, if they could not provide the receipt that showed whether or not they had paid tax on it, they had to pay tax on it. 5 years of tens of thousands of dollars of purchases from Amazon. So by the time it was all said and done, their debt to the state of Texas was over $50,000. Exactly. So if you are a business, do not neglect this, okay? All you have to do, it's this simple. Well, hire us. No, just kidding. No, seriously. All you have to do, some of this is so easy, you guys. This is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to empower you to do this because you don't need to hire me. I mean, you don't need to hire anybody. You guys are all capable of doing this. Call the comptroller. Hi, I'm this kind of business. What is my sales tax nexus in the state of Texas? Nexus means like liability. What do I owe you? What do I have to be charging? Call the comptroller. They will be happy to tell you all the ways that they want money from you. Do not do it alone. And here is my tip, okay? Whenever you're calling the government, okay, plan to call them 3 times. Okay, whenever you're calling the government, I don't care if it's the comptroller, I don't care if it's the labor department, I don't care if it's the IRS, I don't care if it's your mom, if she works for the government, call 3 times. Get the answer. Hey, I want to know what my nexus is, whatever your question is. Get the answer. Call back a second time. If the second person says the same thing the first person says, you're probably good to go. If they say something different, call back a third time and split the difference. I know, this is my life, okay? This is what I do. Because, and I'm not even trying to dog them out, you guys. Like, there's only, like, we have no idea who the people are that are answering the phone. They could have started yesterday or they could have been there for 10 years. We have no idea. And a lot of times they just want to hurry up and get off the phone. They're not going to go ask their manager and they're not going to try hard. A lot of times the people on customer service calls are not tryhards, okay? Can we all agree with that? So just be prepared to call at least 3 times to get your questions answered. Okay, let's see. I beat that to death. And I'm trying to make sure I'm good on time, so I leave questions. Okay, receipts and invoices. Now, you heard me tell you why you need to save all your receipts and invoices, right? If you don't and you get audited, it's a whole thing. It's a whole mess. So just get a Dropbox, or if you have a Gmail account, a G Drive, whatever, and just save everything. Just save it. I have a naming convention because I am an accountant, right? So I do the 6-digit date, I do the name of the vendor, and I do the dollar amount so that I can go search it. Because also, another thing for saving receipts and invoices and bank statements. Bank statements. I was a victim of identity theft. Someone took out, they got a lease, they got electricity, they got a Home Depot card, a Victoria's Secret card in Goodyear, Arizona. Huh? I don't live in Goodyear, Arizona. And so I call and I'm like, hey, because what happened was I tried to get a car loan or something and I couldn't get it. And so then I was like, why? And they're like, because your credit sucks. And I was like, I'm sweet and perfect. What could you possibly be talking about? And so I look, it's all this stuff. Well, because I had bank statements and statements for my utilities and my lease and all of those other documents, I was able to provide them to the court to prove that I did not, in fact, live in Goodyear, Arizona. But if I was not OCD about it and I didn't have all those, because it was 5 years on, it was 5 years after the fact, that I figured it out. So it was I had been identity thefted before so long, I didn't even know, right? But I had all that stuff from a really long time ago. So just save it, save it, save it, save it. You won't regret it.
How many years do we have to save the receipts and all that?
For an IRS, it's 9 years. They say 7 years, but they can really go back as far as they want to. So as an accountant, I would tell you to save 9 years at least. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Now, and this number might be changing. So how many of you hire people to do work for you? How many of you have contractors? How many of you have employees? How many of you think that any of your contractors can still be contractors? Yes, I know. Look at that confusion. I love it. That's perfect. So the government, as of July 1st, 2024, essentially made it illegal for contractors to exist. Okay? Now, what does that mean? What does that mean for me? What do you mean, Erica? Are you being hyperbolic? A little bit. I am being a little bit hyperbolic. So, for example, I Love Your Money is an LLC. Joy Conti can hire I Love Your Money LLC to do her bookkeeping as a contractor. Joy Conti cannot hire Erica Reddick with her social security number to be her contractor. Well, you can if you want to be a jerk. Okay? So this is the new rule. If you hire contractors and you intend to pay them whether or not you get paid by your client. So for example, I just did a really big cleanup project for a big $20 million business here in the Austin area. Believe it or not, that big of a company with 7 locations had no accounting to speak of. I know. So, oh my God, I totally just lost my train of thought. I'm talking about contractors. Oh, and I got the big contract, $20 million. So, I have my girls that work for me, my gals. Sorry if that's offensive. I call them girls. It's not, I don't mean it to be offensive. It's my gals. So I got my gals. They work with me. It's this huge project. Everybody's working like overtime, more than normal. We're trying to earn a bonus. If you get it done in 2 weeks, you can earn a bonus. So everybody's working super hard. Now, if at the end of that client didn't pay me for some reason, because they were jerks maybe, and I didn't pay my girls, then they could be contractors. But if that client doesn't pay me and I intend to pay my staff regardless, they cannot be contractors, they must be employees. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it an individual cannot be a contractor, but an LLC, a company, can be a contractor? Is that the difference?
I can see the government arguing if it's a single member LLC, just to be totally honest with you. But in theory, if you have a corporation set up, you should be not subject to this rule. But a lot of times, like you've got the, like the drivers, right? Oh my God. Uber and Lyft and stuff like that, right? Those guys in a lot of states and in a lot of places, they can't be contractors anymore because they're going to get paid no matter what, right? So if, I'm trying to think, like all the gals who worked for me previously, I hire moms, so that's kind of a mission for my business. I hire women who want to be stay-at-home moms and homeschool their kids. So everyone that works for me works part-time. And they're not people who are starting LLCs and corporations. They just want to earn a little bit of income so that they can support their families, right? None of those women can be my contractors. They all had to be converted to employees. The way that I used to work it was profit sharing. So each client paid a certain amount each month, and each woman would make a percentage of the income. And so basically they determine their own hourly rate by how fast and how good they are. And so some of the girls were making $50 to $100 an hour on some of these clients. But when I had to convert them to employees, do you think I can pay them all $50 or $100 an hour? When some of their clients, it takes them significantly longer. And then we're talking about equity issues, right? So what if the people are, better, faster, stronger? How do you then manage it, and how do you be careful, right? So it's just this whole mess. So if you hire people and they are not an LLC, you have to convert them to an employee, or you are breaking federal law. I know it sucks, it's stupid. I told you, see how quiet it got in here? Now everybody's sad. Okay. Let's see. So the Bank Secrecy Act of 1970 and the Data Protection and Digital Information Bill of 2022 basically make it so that the government can spy on you and spy on your bank account. Did you guys know that? That PayPal, Venmo, your bank, they're reporting anything over $600 to the federal government. Yeah, isn't that great? I know. Yes. I love it. I do tell people, like, part of my thing is I want everyone to be suspicious of the federal government by the time I'm done with any of my talks. Because they literally have given themselves the right to spy on you. And so if you, as a business owner, for example, you have people that you're paying as contractors and you don't file 1099s, they know it. They know that you haven't done that, and that's an audit flag. If you have contract labor, if you have if you have wages, or if you have anything like that as a line item, they're now looking for 941s, 940s. Where did you file 1099s? Where are the W-2s? And so you really want to make sure that no matter what you're doing, if you have people, you need to make sure that your tax return lines up with what you filed, or it's a giant red audit flag. All right, I talked about. Yeah.
Sorry, the quick one. So if you hire a contractor to do something, so they tell you, I have an LLC.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you get from them? EIN or Social Security? What is it besides telling you they're an LLC?
They.
Should be a W-9.
Yeah. So you're gonna want any.
Then you issue a W-9, but when you
hire them, you get the W-9. And then you give them a 1099 at the end of the year. So contractors, you have them fill out a W-9, which it's the name, address, their tax identification number, whatever else. And then for an employee, they fill out an I-9 and a W-4. Make sure you keep all these numbers and letters straight, y'all. You're gonna get tested at the end. Totally kidding. You're totally not gonna get tested. Okay, the other thing, which is really big right now, and I don't spend a lot of time on this, but I just wanna really make it really clear to people. If you are hiring people who are not legal citizens, particularly with the new administration, good luck. That's all I'm gonna say. I will not work with companies who do not hire legally. It is not worth it. The risk, it does not make any sense. I'm not sure why anybody would do it, frankly. I understand human compassion. However, I personally am not willing to risk going to jail for anyone but that man holding the camera. So, that's my personal opinion. Okay, who has heard about the beneficial ownership information? Ooh! And if you haven't, boo on you. Okay. Actually, this just got ruled unconstitutional in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in Texas. Was it Texas? So it's actually been ruled unconstitutional, which I agree. The formation of LLCs is the purview of the states. However, the federal government does issue the tax identification numbers. So, I don't know. Maybe I won't go political on this one, but here's what you need to know. If you own an LLC, if you have something that has a tax identification number that is not your Social Security number, pretty much you have to file this. If you're a nonprofit, there's some excluded businesses, but it's not yours. I can pretty much guarantee you that.
The deadline is January 1st, right?
So, interestingly enough, if you had a business that existed before 2024, your deadline is December 31st, January 1st. Essentially, you have till the end of the year to file it. If you are a business that incorporated in 2024, however, you have 90 days to file it or face a $500 a day penalty. Yeah, that is exactly right. That is a $500 a day penalty. I have not heard anybody getting dinged for this, but if it were me, my guess is that the government basically wanted to make it as painful as possible to try to force compliance. I don't know how they're going to enforce it, just to be frank. I don't know. But next year, starting in 2025, you have 30 days to file once you start a new LLC. So if you know anybody who's starting a business, do them a favor and tell them that this is a thing. And we'll see if it gets struck down by the Supreme Court. I would say at this time, even though it has been struck down by an appeals court, if it were me and I were facing a $500 a day penalty, I would still be filing. And part of it is the government already knows. I'm already well aware that the federal government is spying on me and everything else. I ran for Congress in 2022, okay? I literally had to sign a form that gave the federal government permission to spy on all of my bank accounts. It was literally, I'm a politically exposed person. That's what it is. So go file it. Do I have the? Yes. Okay. So this is the website, and I've got the feel free to share the deck with everybody. We're gonna put this video up later for people to watch and post to. But the finsend.gov, you guys, don't let anybody charge you a bunch of money for this. Again, this will take you 15 minutes. The hardest part is gonna be taking the picture of your driver's license. You just need to know your EIN. You need the IDs of anybody who is an owner, anybody who owns more than 25% of your company. This takes very little time. The most important thing, when you get done, you have to save the report. You have to save the number. You need it because you're not going to be able to get it back again, and you'll need to give it to your tax accountant when you file for your taxes at the end of the year.
Can I ask a clarification question on that?
Yeah.
So owner, when you say owner, it literally means just whoever's name is in the tax form, right? It's not. It doesn't have to be your spouse's, right? Even though Texas, common law, they. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's whoever is actually named an owner,
Okay.
right? Like if you plots tomorrow, who's going to get the money? Who's going to be responsible for winding it down? Who can we come after if weird things happen is essentially really what it is. So, if like y'all, it would be you two. It doesn't have to be your heirs or anything like that. Luckily, they're not that ridiculous. But it is anyone who owns at least 25% of the business. Okay, so that was all my slides, and I don't know where we're at with time. I wanted to make sure I left time for more questions. We're good? Oh, 7 minutes for questions? Look at me. Okay, so who in here is absolutely terrified now? Yes. Who in here is like, I'm better than I thought I was? Yes. Okay, awesome, good. Okay, what do you have for questions? What can I answer? It doesn't have to just be about the presentation if there's something else that you're wondering about.
I have a question. So I have an employee who works hourly. I pay her through Venmo. I do know that Venmo looks at all of the numbers. But we did a W-9, 1099 last year. So this year, she has to fill out a W-4 and an I-9. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and then that's it? And I give it to
Well, so, I mean, she's now an employee, so you have to run payroll, right? And you're going to have to pay payroll taxes, and you're going to have to withhold payroll taxes, and then you're going to pay those too. Yeah. I mean, it really,
No, I don't want to do that.
I know.
So how do I not do that?
Fire her. I know it sucks. I highly recommend, if you guys want, I did an interview with Holly L'Italian. Holly Acosta. Sorry, Holly L'Italian's an excellent nutritionist if you need one. Holly Acosta from Kasdan Payroll. Okay, she's awesome. I did an interview with her for the podcast. So if you go to the I Love Your Money YouTube channel, the full interview is there, and then there's some clips. And I had her on specifically to talk about this because I was like, but wait, so but can I? And she was like, nah, bro. No, none of that is going to work. And I have a couple feelings about it. In a way, I understand why the government is doing it, because there are a lot of businesses out there that take advantage of people. They take advantage of people. They take advantage of illegal immigrants, and by putting them on the books as contractors and then not even paying them minimum wage. There are a lot of ways that unscrupulous business owners can really take advantage of people. And so I understand the heart of wanting to protect people and wanting to put these barriers in place. They just don't understand that 95% of businesses in the United States are small businesses. There are people like you and I who have one or two people who help us, and that extra, when I had to convert everyone to payroll, that was an automatic additional $500 a month, just in payroll taxes, at least, that I had to absorb, and they're not better off for it, right? Like, I'm paying more to the government instead of the women that work for me. That makes me really mad, and it seems really unfair. And so I would just encourage you to get involved, and elections matter.
Elections are good, but on that note, I do have a question about the 1099 single entity contractor. So the situation is, I worked as a contractor, but with a Salesforce client I had for about 6 months, we didn't do the W-9 paperwork. I'm assuming I need to do that for 2024 taxes.
You might be okay in your circumstance because you were not directly working on. I actually don't know the answer to that question. I would refer you to an HR specialist. Or your tax person even, because there are ways around it. There are exclusions. It's just not normal. So if you look up the video for sure, or if you email me, Rob, I can send you the link where we kind of talk about that, or where to go look at the law for the exclusions. Yeah, you might be able to get away with it because you weren't working on client things. You're not a I don't know. I'd have to look at it.
So, all of this together, like, right now, I have a individual that I pay through contractor for this year. So you said it started, is it this year?
Yeah, July 2024.
Okay, so
Yep.
then she start after. So it's already happened, then how do I convert? Because I already paid her, then how do I?
So if
payroll?
a lot of businesses aren't going to be able to do it because of the cost, just to be totally honest with you. Because what you're gonna have to do is calculate withholdings and payroll taxes and all that other stuff. So the way it would work is you would get with, Gusto or Kasdan or some payroll provider. I mean, you could technically calculate it yourself, but why? And then you would say, hey, I paid someone $24,000 this year. I'm just making up numbers. And then I want to I didn't know that this law changed. I want to make them a payroll person. So what they're going to do is they're going to calculate what the withholdings should have been, and they're going to calculate what the employer portion of the payroll taxes, the federal unemployment, the state unemployment, et cetera. They're going to calculate all that, and they're going to say, Eileen, here's your bill, and this is what you owe the federal government, the state of Texas, and here's how we're going to divvy it out.
But then how do they get it from the employee side? Because employees will pay part of their.
You would have to ask them for it. Or you'd have to pay it yourself. Yeah, you'd have to eat it, or you'd have to ask them for the money back. So now here's the thing. Most people don't know that this law changed.
What part of the law changed? I guess I missed that. What part changed? Is it the scope or what's the definition of?
So basically all of the rules were the same, right? Control, part-time, full-time, right? All these things. The one that changed is if they're going to get paid regardless,
Yes.
then they cannot be a contractor.
That is the same definition. If they're going to get paid regardless, that would not have been a contract. Right?
Correct.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been a contractor in the first place. Maybe not closely, but I hear what you're saying. But yeah, that helps.
Yeah. But people don't think about it that way. I never thought about it that way. I'm going to pay my staff no matter what. Even if my clients end up being shisty, why should the people who work for me suffer? That doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't do that. I don't think anybody would really do that.
I don't think I understand that regardless. Like, I hire her, she does my social media marketing, so it's not like related to my revenue.
But if she's going to get paid no matter what, this is you guys are way overthinking this. This is the point. It makes it illegal to have contractors. Stop trying to logic your way around it. The point is to make it so that everyone has to be an employee now.
So what's a contractor? It's like volunteer work?
A contractor is like I Love Your Money. You can hire I Love Your Money to do your accounting. I'm an LLC. We're going to do something. If you go under, are you going to pay me?
So I've looked into this a lot. I have employees, but I was audited by Texas Workforce Commission simply because they were like, a lot of people are hiring incorrectly, so we're trying to, make sure that you're doing it right. And I was. I use Gusto for payroll. A lot of after-school businesses are hiring contractors. And so the official definition is contractors you don't have to train them. So they provide a service, but they're the expert. And so you don't have uniforms, they kind of regulate themselves, whereas employees have more rules. I mean, you have more rules for employees.
Yeah. If you control the time that they work, if you control where they show up, if you manage communications with whatever they do, yeah, like if you don't have to train them, I think that was a great example. Like you hire Erica Reddick, I already know how to do accounting. You don't have to tell me to do your bookkeeping.
And
I do
also
your
have
bookkeeping.
Uniforms, employees, contractors don't have to wear uniforms. I was also just audited by my insurance agency. Just
Dang.
record keeping, I know. I've only been in business 6 years. But they needed 941s for the past year and federal unemployment statements for the past, so every quarter. I-941s are quarterly.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's.
And
I mean,
it,
I'm
and did
with
you have that stuff all available and
Yeah,
sorted?
Gusto.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And now imagine if you didn't have that. If you didn't have a software that you could go to, if
Right.
it wasn't set up, if you didn't have something saved in a folder somewhere, trying to go find that stuff from 6 years ago or whatever. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you for proving my
Yeah.
point, Amy. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
How does it affect like personal, like you say I hired the neighborhood kid to do my babysitting for 2 hours?
Yeah.
Like what happens then?
I mean, so, well, there's a few things. One is if you make under, that would be if you pay them over a certain amount, then they would be considered a domestic servant, and that's a whole other thing. I'm not even joking. That's a different thing. Babysitting. And I'm not a tax accountant, you guys. I don't do taxes. I do everything but federal income tax returns. Okay? So we do everything else. So when you start asking me about your 1040, I'm gonna have no idea. Although I do know that because I have a high net worth client who has a nanny, and we have to file a special form. She's a domestic servant. We have to calculate it, and then it's whatever. But you can make up to a certain amount as a young person, and you don't have to claim it. But if somebody's kid makes over 10 grand, they're technically supposed to file a tax return. And your whatever your tax liability is going to be low or nothing. But still, the government wants your money. They want it. They want it all. You can also, just so you guys know, you can hire your kid for your business. And I think you can pay them up to, is it 10,000? Is that the limit? 9,999. You pay them like 10 grand essentially, and they don't have to claim it. And it's a business deduction, and it's money that goes back into your household. So if you don't have a really good tax accountant, get one.
At what age can you hire your kid?
Oh, I don't remember there being one, but it's probably like old enough to stand. I don't know. I don't remember.
I know about this.
I remember.
I have a 6 and an 8-year-old, and I'm like, I put him to work at.
I guarantee you. Here's the thing, you guys. Don't be scared of the internet and go to IRS. Like first of all, do not ask ChatGPT for tax advice. For the love of all that is good and holy, okay? Because everything in ChatGPT, it's reading the entire internet. That means it's reading good and bad, okay? So please, just everyone promise me you're not gonna ask freaking AI for tax advice. Don't do it. No. The IRS.gov is a very searchable website. I know it can be very intimidating, but it is a very searchable website. You may need to use Google to get the right vocabulary and words to use to search, but look it up. How old can I hire my kid or whatever, and it'll tell you.
So I think I saw some video that kind of says in general they should be kind of old enough, like 11, 12 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then if you have special circumstances that you can sustain reasonably, then they could be younger. Like if you do photo, right? Like they could be,
Yeah.
26, and then you just have your photo on your website or whatever that shows. So I think there's certain things probably over a certain age people don't question much, but
Yeah.
under that age, if you have a legitimate reason.
Yeah, if you've got your 6-year-old online doing manufacturing, people are probably going to have a feeling about it. But if they're modeling in your social media, that's another thing. Did you have a question?
Yes, I did. Actually, I was going to ask you, is IRS.gov a place to go to? I just opened up a business, got my LLC this year, and I'm literally lost. What do? I don't want to create a problem, a snowball and fix it later, but is that a website that you'll go to kind of educate yourself on the outline of the small business?
Ooh, no.
No?
No. Good question. You can get answers to questions there, but to my knowledge, okay, and I could be wrong, there is nothing on there that's oh, here's a checklist for what you got to do for if you're starting a small business. But you just made me think of something I should put on my website. And make sure hey, you got your LLC, okay, do you need to check on your tax, whatever. if you go to my website, iloveyourmoney.net, and schedule a free consult, I would be happy to just chit chat, whatever kind of business you have, and just give you a little bit of free advice to direct you. Oh, okay. Excellent.
Cheers card.
Excellent.
The other thing is maybe go to one of those nonprofit organizations that helps with startup. Like I went to EGBI, they're great, yeah. And
Yeah.
they probably have someone.
Yeah, SCORE.
Someone that tells you all the things like LLC and EIN.
Also, Chamber of Commerce, I know normally they work.
Oh, yeah, chambers.
Business owners. They have accounting, how to set up,
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, I should know.
Oh, yeah.
The free resources.
Oh, you guys are coming up with great resources. Yeah, a lot of the chambers will have videos and things like that that you can find on their website, links to people that they've had do talks like this, so that you can watch them and find out other things. Oh, man.
Depending on your resources, like for me, like I have a CPA that I meet with quarterly, and he tracks like, but sometimes you do a consult, and sometimes we'll do a free consult that gives you a checklist. I sign with my CPA, he keeps everything straight, and depending on what you need, they're not necessarily incredibly expensive.
Yeah, it is. I'm actually a part of an entrepreneur group, and this last month was our financial services. So I got to be like the expert in the room this month at our meeting, and it was so awesome because the two guys that lead it are like venture capitalists, and they're guys you would never know it by looking at them, but they're super rich, and they've started and sold and bought and a million companies, and they're wicked loaded. And they were sitting there telling everybody, you need to know what your numbers are. If you don't know what your numbers are, you are in trouble. And I was like, yes, tell them all. And because particularly if you have a good accounting professional, whether it's a bookkeeper or a CPA or somebody, an enrolled agent, something like that, they're often in a position, a financial advisor, a wealth advisor, they're often in a position to see where you have gaps and what you need to do. A lot of times those people are familiar enough with business that they go, ooh, hey, here's wait, do you not have insurance for this? Or do you not have, you kind of need somebody really, to me, I kind of see our job as like risk mitigation. Ideally we're increasing your wealth as well, but would you say that, Angela, that a lot of what you do is risk mitigation?
Yeah.
Like,
Looking for gaps, insurance coverage, did you make a tax mistake somewhere, stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of it is fixing or preventing mistakes.
Yeah. And so just ask for help. And again, there's tons of free resources by all these different nonprofits. Operation Hope. That was the other, I did a talk for Operation Hope. They also provide things like on their website and available later. That's another really good resource. Yeah.
We have one last question, and then we're gonna have raffles, so.
Ooh. Anyone?
Anyone has one last question? This is your website.
Not
right?
federal,
People
but I
can-
have people that I refer out to.
website?
Oh, yeah. iloveyourmoney.net.
Yeah.
iloveyourmoney.net. Anybody, if you want just to ask a question, like I said, you can book a free consult right on the website, but there's also email, phone number. Just holler at me if you have questions. I can give you my card before I leave, and I'd be happy to answer.
Does the have to be filed annually, or is it just?
One time.
Okay.
Yeah, well, right now it's one time, but it's the government. They could change their mind. They could. Like I said, there's a lot of talk with the new administration about what they are going to do or are not going to do. We'll see. We were also waiting for the R&D tax credits and Section 174 expenses. If anybody's had to deal with that, that's bankrupting businesses left and right around the country. And they decided not to take it up because they combined it with other tax laws that nobody wanted to pass, and it was stupid. But hopefully they'll fix it this year.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.